create happy memories of the future. Happiness, hypnosis is very useful to create, amplify, and sustain some state of happiness. I start with a quote. When I was 5 years old, my mom always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment, and I told them they didn't understand life. According to maturity. He also combined faith and they had hope for a better life in their next life. On the contrary, when we see many people in Belgium and protesting and wanting to earn more money because someone else is richer or seeing a neighbor with a bigger car, they feel frustrated and are not very satisfied because they want more and more and more. One person who did a lot of studies is Seligman, and in one of his first publications he considered the set range and the other determinants. A set point is one, and that's something that can limit you somehow, because it's the tendency to go back to a moderate mood level after so-called happiness. It can be genetically determined. Research in twins sometimes shows that they have a different level of happiness. And about the set point, winners of the lottery can feel very, very happy for a part of their life, but shortly after, they come back to the level from before becoming rich. Even with health issues, even people who are suffering from serious, life-threatening illness, they can come back to the level before and adapt. It's sometimes incredible how people can adapt and accept serious disabilities. And there is the adaptation and the habituation to success and pleasure. And even if someone defeats an Olympic record, he can be dissatisfied the next time when he can't improve his performances. And some surprising thing was that someone who was the second at the Olympics was absolutely not happy because he wanted to be the first and the winner. When we have regular positive stimulation, in a way there can grow the need for new stimuli or variety, because we have this habituation that play a role. Life circumstances, we have seen that when people's basic needs are covered, more money or more assets don't contribute to more happiness. What we have also discovered is that, not me, but the research shows that happy people have a rich social life. Marriage is connected with happiness. A happy marriage, perhaps, but sometimes even a bad relationship is better than no relationship. And it reminds me of another quote that the richness of a man's life is the sum of his relationships and contacts. Very good news, because satisfaction of life increases with age. So you all have a bright future ahead, and education and training, that's not really a way to become happier, only for people with a lower income. And religion and spirituality particularly contributes to happiness. It generates more social life and hope for the future. The variables in the model of Seligman are positive emotions, hope, motivation, and giving meaning to what happens to you. And there are different routes to happiness and different concepts. One is the hedonic life, and that's a pleasant life where we are increasing the positive emotions. The second concept is a good life. In good life, there is the pursuit of gratification and the mobilization of character strength, so rather developing yourself. The next step is a meaningful life. There you belong to something bigger than yourself, something larger than yourself. And when you can use and walk all these three routes of life, you can have a full life. The route to the pleasant life and regularly stimulating senses, that's the taste of good food, the smell of a favorite perfume, a massage, sensual pleasure. But there, you need to respect refractory periods. After a good meal, you need time for digestion and recovery. When you smell a good perfume, after a few minutes, you don't notice it anymore because there is a quick adaptation to this nice smell. So if this is the only thing to find some good or to generate positive emotions, the risk of habituation and adaptation leads to boredom and the search for new stimuli. And maybe that's also a risk. Many people using drugs and going to hard drugs to find a similar positive emotional or pleasure state. Compulsively seeking food, pleasure in food, alcohol, and more harder drugs and sex. The road to a good life, there is an interesting questionnaire online from Seligman, and it reviews or you can investigate your character strengths. We all have talents and things that are better given to us. And after answering all these questions, you get the results, values in action with your strengths that are most available for you. And it's very interesting to know them, because when you use and mobilize these character strengths, this will bring more satisfaction or better performances, or you can choose your job, your career, matching with some of these strengths. Or when you have a team and you put together a team, it's important to see that the assets that you have in your team are people with different character strengths and talents. And with your top strengths, you can make good choices and mobilize the competencies that are helpful to reach goals and involve yourself fully. The good life is the pursuit of gratification. There we mobilize our competencies to find a life, a work, a lifestyle where these competencies are useful. And when our challenges are in balance with skills, one floats in the zone or experiences flow. Flow very much related also to a state of hypnosis, hypnotic experiences, losing track of time. So the overview, pleasure and satisfaction, you can see the pleasure is short time span and the satisfaction longer. With the pleasure you regularly need to stimulate your senses. It's only, or rather, a bodily experience, and there is a risk of habituation because our neurons, they don't react anymore and they need novelty. Only fun is a way to promote consumption in our economic environment. Satisfaction is a psychological investment and growth. And the meaningful life is that we can mobilize all these character strengths in the service of something larger than us. It gives life meaning. An example, we can buy beautiful roses. It's really a pleasure to receive them, and it's an immediate pleasure. And when you smell the rose, it's a sensorial stimulation. We also can make up our minds to plant the seeds, pruning, to do the fertilization, and that's more engagement, daily checking how the roses are growing, seeing the evolution. We can planning to build a garden to enrich our environment, looking forward with anticipation, a sense of purpose and meaning, a full life. These are the roads to happiness, and I can imagine you wonder, well, how can we reach that, or which strategies can be useful to improve mood? Why are some people happier than others in similar circumstances? One research shows us that self-rated happy and unhappy people have been investigated, and they show differences, different cognitive and motivational strategies. They have having a more direct motivation toward goals and pursuits that foster well-being. They have a rather optimistic or positive thinking style to explain and cope with adversity. Another interesting theory is the broaden and build theory of emotions. When children play, they learn spontaneously. When they are in a happy mood, you can learn more. So it's useful to have positive emotions in pushing limits, in generating interest to explore the world and new things, in finding new information and experience, enriching your life, in expanding yourself. And also with these positive emotions, our thought action repertoires enlarge. The joy in playing and pushing limits to be more creative, and the interest to explore, having new information and experiences which expand the self. Can we practice happiness? We have seen that positive thought patterns beget positive emotions, and repetitive positive thinking states strengthen the underlying circuits that produce positive, happy emotional states. Our brains are malleable. We can see or we can consider something like brain training. Focusing attention in hypnosis activate cognitions and emotions of happiness, reliving or construct elements of happiness. It's just like a muscle. We can practice and strengthen circuits of happiness, ranging. The concept of flourishing. When we see the mental health continuing, one end we have languishing, in between we have the moderate mental health, at the other continuum end, flourishing. And flourishing, a syndrome of symptoms of positive feelings, positive functioning in life. It has 6 dimensions: emotional well-being and social well-being, investigated by 5 dimensions. And languishing means the absence of mental health. Both flourishing and languishing are on a continuum. The continuum where there is absence of a mental disorder, but despite of that, languishing can be a very serious problem and cause some less productivity in a working environment and less satisfaction with life. The Flourish acronym has flow, utilization, resources, resilience, imagery, self-hypnosis. And this circle, there we have many ways where hypnosis is useful to find an equilibrium, to adapt to challenges to the skills, and mobilize our character strengths. We are in the zone, and this is part of a good life. The optimal pacing between skills and challenges. And that's the opposite of mind wandering. Students did not enjoy spending time in a room by themselves with nothing to do. I think this explains why we immediately take our iPhones to do something, to have something in hand. Because when we have nothing to do, our mind wanders around and there is an activity of the default mode network. And that seems to be somehow unpleasant, and most of the people avoid it. When we practice mindfulness, I think we can enjoy this moment of stillness. And when we practice hypnosis, we also can find something positive to stop this background rumor of the default mode network. Flow and hypnosis, as we all know, we know the self-hypnosis to have some relaxation, harmony, heart coherence, with the imagery of positive experiences involving all sensorial aspects of positive experiences, synesthesia, and the good news is that there we don't risk the habituation and we can repeat that over and over again. We also can review fulfilling interactions and performances and enjoy it every time again and not having this single experience, this short moment of joy. We also know active alert hypnosis. It's another way to come in the state of flow while you are doing something active, practicing sports, or being fully engaged with all your character strengths mobilized to enjoy that. And when we are in the flow, time goes very fast. Research has shown that active alert hypnosis can bring a positive emotional state, and that the focus in contemporary psychology, according to some research of Eva Banyai, has shown that it can induce positive emotions such as love or happiness. The active participants of people in active alert hypnosis in harmony, they had a more positive mood. It's considered as a potent tool to enhance self-development. It's good that we can use our smile to change the world, but don't let the world change your smile. Change can come from within. Some other research has shown that hypnosis is useful to develop happy pathways, antidepressive or happy pathways, by focusing on positive imagery, a question we can ask ourselves. We can substitute the negative self-hypnosis with positive self-hypnosis to create experiences of an antidepressive reality. And all or much of our reality can start with a dream. And sustained positive emotion is associated with the activation of ventral striatum and a sustained connectivity of the prefrontal cortex and the striatum. And these pathways are activated when we are happy. The practice is utilization to utilize the flow experiences. Counting blessings, a very important research, but not only counting blessings as an experience of taking notes, but reliving them and re-experiencing them in trance will contribute to a real change and lasting experience. And that's where change comes from, not only knowing, but having the experience of change and the experience. The affect bridge, here we can use it to relieve recent experiences of pleasure. You can go to your love place. I really like that from that knee. You have the imagery where you can go to the past, to the present, to the future, to relive some good experiences. We can do the gratitude exercise, not only in a life practice, but also on an imaginary level in trance. And I will go very fast to come to my concluding. the journey to the future means that we celebrate success and in that way create memories of the future, because our brains cannot distinguish between real facts, the emotions from real facts, from the emotions from imaginary facts. My conclusion is flourishing. It can be a way to promote well-being, emotional, psychological, social well-being, and positive functioning. Imagery hypnosis, having access to these emotional states, is helpful to relive the experiences of each part of a full life. Emotional changes promoted via broaden and build theory result in behavioral changes. Positive self-hypnosis with focus on positive imagery contributes to strengthening happy pathways. And it's so important because mental illness and mental health are correlated. They belong to a separate continuum. Prevention of mental health illness, treatment of mental illness will not necessarily result in more healthy individuals. And when we take the statistics, it's really disappointing to see how many unhappy people we have. When we understand the nature and the etiology of stress, there we can have impact. And I think a challenge for the future can be to promote flourishing in society, large-scale development from languishing to flourishing, and finding how to move depressed people from floundering to struggling, or how flourishing can prevent risks for depression. I thank you and wish you a lot of happiness planting the seed, cultivate with self-hypnosis to promote growth and development, finding the stimulating environment to grow and flourish. Thank you.